Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this edition of the 700 Club. And today we're going to be answering some of your money questions about mortgages and stock splits and things like that. But first, the next presidential election is just 2 years away, in case you haven't been watching any news for the last year. And pollsters and pundits are already dropping the names of potential candidates. One name you may not have heard is Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney. And religion is playing a role. Romney is a Mormon, and how that will play with many American voters is an open question. But as David Brody reports, Mitt Romney has always lived for a challenge.
Mitt Romney's life story is one that was almost never told. The title very well could be Dead Man Walking. Paris, 1968. 21-year-old Mitt is on a Mormon missionary trip when his car is hit head-on, knocking him unconscious.
The police that arrived on the scene had to get us out with the jaws of life. And in my case, they took my passport and wrote on it, "Il est mort." He is dead.
News back home reports him dead. His father, governor of Michigan at the time, wouldn't believe it. He called the French police himself, and well, the police were wrong. He was alive. And so it goes with Mitt Romney. Turning around that near-death experience is a theme that has followed him through much of his life. Because just when it appears all is lost, he's able to find an answer. The New York Times calls him a turnaround specialist. And Romney knows when to take advantage of positive press. His one and only book is called Turnaround.
There have been failures and missteps and mistakes along the way, but you do your very best and look forward to trying to be successful in whichever way you can.
He was the successful founder of a capital investment group in the 1980s. In the 90s, he took over the Salt Lake City Olympics, plagued by corruption and a $400 million deficit. He turned a $100 million profit, and the games went down as one of the best ever. Fast forward to today. He's the conservative governor of Massachusetts, facing a state legislature made up mostly of Democrats.
There's some things that just drive me nuts. I wish I could change, and I know this legislature will not make progress on certain areas, but there are other areas we've been able to make extraordinary progress.
We are facing a financial emergency. There's no easy way out of the mess.
On day one, Governor Romney inherited a $3 billion deficit. He was determined to fix it, even while saying,
"I will not raise taxes."
After cutting spending and finding plenty of government waste, today there's a budget surplus.
Massachusetts is back.
He's also won here on universal health care. Massachusetts is now the first state in the country to require health care for everyone. These accomplishments are important to Romney, but there may be even bigger things in his future. Boston and the state of Massachusetts is known for a lot of things, including liberalism. It is the bluest of blue states. It's also known for a famous bar, Cheers, the one behind me, from the 80s television sitcom. The slogan at Cheers was, "Where everybody knows your name." Well, in Massachusetts, Governor Romney's name is well known. Nationwide, it is not, but that's about to change. Governor Romney is stepping down this year after just one 4-year term. Nowadays, he travels the country quite a bit, spending time in places like Iowa. Iowa will be the site of one of the first presidential caucuses in 2008.
There has been talk among a growing number of Republican activists that you really are the party's best bet to be the Republican nominee in 2008. Do you want to run for president?
Well, I'll give that some thought. Clearly, I want the option of making that decision.
He has the resume for it, and the reviews so far have been positive. Cover stories like Matinee Mitt, Romney Rocks, and Lord of the Rings. There's even a Mitt Romney for President blog site.
The decision to go forward is one which I haven't made finally yet, but it's an intriguing opportunity because I believe that this country faces some real challenges.
The country may face challenges, but so too does the governor. The one everybody is talking about is his religion. He's Mormon. There are some in this country, including quite a few evangelicals, who believe Mormonism is a cult. The Southern Baptist Convention website has a section listing major cults and sects in America. Mormons are on that list.
Some folks have said, Mormons are part of a cult. Does that bother you?
Well, there's very little that bothers me. And that's in part because when people make references that I disagree with, I generally conclude that they just don't have all the facts. And if they had all the facts, they'd feel differently.
This could be a problem with voters.
What about some of the voters out there who, and you've seen these polls, I'm sure that an 8 or 2 have brought them to you, where, 17% or whatever it is, say they just won't vote for a Mormon. Does that concern you at all?
Well, I think people, if the only thing they know about an individual is their faith, and if their faith is not terribly well known, and if their faith sounds a little different than their own, that they're going to say, that's a problem for me. I'm proud of people of faith. I think Americans want people of faith to lead their country. Generally, they don't care so much about the particular brand of faith if the people that they're looking at have the same values they have. And people in my faith have the values of other great religions that are represented here in this country.
If Romney believes he has been beating the odds his whole life, well, then the Mormon issue could be the latest chapter.
People said, well, gee, can a Mormon win here in a state that's, what, 55% Catholic? Well, the answer is, yeah. Could an actor who'd been divorced win as president? Yeah, Ronald Reagan was able to do that.
If Romney enters the presidential race, he'll be faced with questions about abortion, too.
I'm firmly pro-life.
But in his 1994 Senate race against Ted Kennedy, Romney wanted abortion safe and legal. When he ran for governor 4 years ago, he supported a woman's right to choose and said he would keep the state's abortion rights laws intact.
I made it very clear that while in the past I had said I would preserve the laws in Massachusetts as they existed, that I was firmly pro-life and that I would support justices and policies that were pro-life.
He says his views changed in part by the debate in his state over a stem cell cloning bill, which convinced him that life begins at conception. He vetoed that bill, and he also vetoed an emergency contraception bill.
As governor, all of the issues that have come to my desk that have dealt with the matter of abortion, I have decided on the side of life.
The pro-life Romney now seems to have the entire social conservatives' value package. He's also for a constitutional amendment protecting traditional marriage, and he's not pleased with activist judges.
The idea of not allowing under God in the Pledge of Allegiance or taking in God we trust off our coins, those are just nutty.
So as Romney eyes a potential presidential run, he does it in a very carefree way. His handlers say he's pretty funny. His humor even came to light at his inauguration.
Do solemnly swear and affirm.
All the duties incumbent on me as.
All the duties incumbent upon me as. The Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
He's quick.
He'll need a good sense of humor and a thick skin if he decides to take on presidential politics. In our interview, you could even tell he was warming up the stump speech.
When it comes time to choose the next president of the United States, that they'll look at the men and women that may be running at that time, and they'll say, who can deal with the jihadists? Who can also make sure that we remain the world's economic superpower, staying ahead competitively of the Chinese and other Asians and European nations? Who can make sure that we preserve the culture and values that are America? And who will finally rein in the excessive spending in Washington?
That sounds like the 30-second condensed stump speech.
Maybe running for president will be the next stop in a life story that was almost never told. David Brody, CBN News, Boston, Massachusetts.
An amazing story. Mitt Romney's father, George Romney, ran the Rambler Company, later became American Motors, and then became governor of Michigan, did an excellent job, ran for president, and he made one slip of the tongue, and that was all it took. He said he was, quote, brainwashed about Vietnam, and that was it. I mean, it's a pretty cruel world out there, but it sounds like his son has gotten through those gaffes as a very polished performer. We'll be showing you some of the other candidates here on this program as the race heats up. It's a long way away till 2008, but nevertheless, that's one of the